Remember, guys, when I thought that after doing the free guy program for 5 weeks, then something is supposed to happen. For example, a meeting with the organization, which never did. Well, I am now on the 8th week of this program. And apparently, only this 8th week is counted as the actual 5th week. And do you know why? I mean, it's for such a stupid reason. They expect me to do this program on exactly the same days each week, exactly at the same time, for 5 consecutive weeks in order for it to be counted. But it's not sufficient for them that it adheres to the local time zone, but they want it to adhere to the universal time zone, which no rational person cares about. Because each country lives by its local time zone. That's when people are awake, and that's when people go to work. It is not practical to live by the universal time. So anyway, when I started doing this program 8 weeks ago at exactly the same time each day, it was designed by me that I do it according to the local time zone and not the universal time zone. Because, as I've just said, people live by local time zones. It's the only way that's practical. And that's just how it is. And I have been doing it on the exact same days, at the exact same time for the past 8 weeks. But apparently they didn't count it. Only because of the coincidence that after 3 weeks of doing this program, the local time zone shifted by 1 hour. Because the fucking daylight saving time, which I never even asked for to exist, turned off. And so the local time zone shifted by 1 hour. And then thereby all of the 3 weeks of work was completely discarded by them. And it is only now, on the 8th week of doing this program, that they actually count it as the 5th week. Although I never did anything that was wrong. And you see, this daylight saving time thing, which causes the time zone shift by 1 hour twice a year in various countries, including Israel, I never asked for such thing to exist. From my perspective, let just be one time zone for each fucking country and don't mess with it twice a year. Just let it be the same. But it's not even my fucking choice. That daylight saving thing is being forced onto me. The time zone shifting twice a year, even though I don't move anywhere but remain in the same country, it's being forced on me, and I have no choice but to live with it, only for the reason that the rest of the country operates in that way, and that's the country in which I live. It lives by the system of having daylight saving time either on or off, depending on what time of the year it is. And I have no choice but to deal with it, although it was never my choice and I never asked for that fucking thing. So try to understand my position. First, I am dealing with something that is forced onto me. Something that I never asked for or agreed for. It's simply forced onto me. And then my work is being discarded because of that fucking thing that I never even asked for to exist. So first, something that I never asked for nor agreed to is forced onto me. And because of that thing, my work, my 3 weeks of work are being discarded. When it's not my fault at all. I was precise, I was accurate, I was perfect. And yet my 3 weeks of work are being discarded. How does that make any sense? Not only that, I also did not do anything that would shift the local time zone otherwise, specifically moving my location to another country with a different time zone. I remained in the same country and did the exercise at exactly the same fucking hour on the exact same days for 8 weeks. I did everything correctly. The time zone shifting is not my choice, it's being forced onto me. And personally, I don't like it because I like stability and I would have liked if the time zone remained the same. So, this thing that I don't even like is being forced to me, and then my work is also discarded because of it. It is so fucked up. So the only thing I could have possibly done to prevent it is to live by two separate timetables for each two two different seasons of the year. One timetable for when the daylight saving time is on, and another timetable for when the daylight saving time is off, which is completely and utterly retarded and is also cowardly. You see, I am not a cowardly person by nature. I'd rather do the more courageous action, rather choose the more courageous path, which which is due to me believing that it is the right choice, even if it may mean some level of a loss, rather than do something that I believe is wrong because of a fear of loss. I am not a cowardly person by nature. Therefore, I did not do that two timetable shit out of fear that they would not count my work. I did the thing that made most sense to me, which simply live by the local time zone, regardless of the daylight saving time shifting. It doesn't make sense to have two different timetables. It is less organized and less unified. The ideal and most correct thing to do is to have one universal timetable, regardless of which time zone you're in. Meaning, regardless of what country you live in, and regardless of whether the daylight saving time is on or off. For example, you would like to go to work at exactly the same hour you would like to go to sleep at exactly the same time range, to eat your meals at the same time, to form habits, which is very important. Forming habits of doing certain things at certain time. This is order. Having a different timetable just because the daylight saving time is on or off, it's a mess. It's a fucking mess. You have to make new habits all over again. Just because the daylight saving time shifts, you're deprived of unification, of unity, of singularity. You really want your timetable to remain the same regardless of where you're at or what the time zone is, whether the daylight saving time is on or off. It's the most rational and also practical thing to do. And you know, it's not just that. Let's say that the reason that those people expect you to adhere to the universal time zone is that they want the timing of the training to be as precise, perfect, and stable as possible. It does make sense, surely. But from a practical perspective, out of more than 150 sessions per year, having just 2 sessions each year in which you start either 1 hour later or earlier is super insignificant. It doesn't, in practice, make the training imperfect or its timing. It's like 99.99% perfect, which is in practice perfect. And most people who train, they don't even come close to that level of perfection, and they still receive tremendous result if they train and eat correctly. Yet this tiny difference is no difference at all. It is not worth having two fucking different timetables just because of that insignificant difference. And even then, if you want absolute perfection for like reasons that I cannot fathom, because it would not make any real difference, but still, if you want absolute adherence to the universal time zone, then remove that daylight saving time thing from existence. That's the correct way of doing this. I, for one, don't need there to be two different time zones shifting each year. I am perfectly fine with the one time zone that doesn't change. And you know that daylight saving time thing, it's also a bit of a mess when you deal with other countries, because you get used that there is a certain amount of hour of difference between one country's time zone and another, but then each has their own fucking daylight saving time, which shifts in different times of the year, and those differences of how many hours are there between each time zone, they are different depending on when some countries' daylight saving time is on and another countries isn't, or they're both on or they're both off, it's a mess. The daylight saving shit is a mess. So remove it from existence. Don't tell me that now you have to have two different fucking timetables for each 2 seasons of the year just to adhere to the universal time zone, while that daylight saving time shit that you never even asked for is being forced on you just because of that. And then you have to reform your habits all over again about when you do things, like when you go to sleep, when you wake up, when you have your meals. You have to rebuild your habit system from the ground up twice a year, either 1 hour forward or 1 hour backward, which is insane. It's insane. Man, I really want to form my daily habits just once and perfect them over the years, rather than having to rebuild them twice a year, which would be insane, impractical, stupid, and insane. So stop being unreasonable. Either stop discarding my work, because I am truly doing the thing that is most rational here, or get rid of that daily saving time sheet across the entire planet. Not just this country, but at least this country. Do one of the two options, to be fair, because the way things are really not fair. Things are being forced to me that I never asked for, and my work is being discarded just because I am dealing with them in the most rational way I can, and it is unfair. I want things to be fair and rational. Either disable the DST, at least in this country, but preferably in the entire world, or do not discard my work any further. Or even better, do count the first 5 weeks that I did precisely at the same fucking time and days each fucking week. I did and still do everything correctly. It's the DST thing that is wrong, not me.